Hey everybody, it's Friday, and if it's Friday, it means it's a really bad hair day. And welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina, and we have reached the end of disc 5, season 4, disc 5. We have done Night Terrors, we have done Identity Crisis, we've done the Ninth Degree, and today we're doing Cupid. And I'm telling you, it was, oh my god, oh good grief, oh Jesus, no, ew. Sorry, but that's how I watched that's how I watched the whole episode, really. So, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina, and this is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects going on here, no theme music, horrible audio, horrible visual, we all know that stuff. Please hit the like and subscribe. Thank you to all those who have subscribed. I could use a few more. I tried for 1,000 at Christmas. It didn't get me anywhere. I gained like 5 at Christmas and lost all 5. I've gained 5 back. So it's not like I'm improving. It's like 1 step forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 1 step back. But someone said, hey, you're at least the turtle's moving in the right direction. I'm like, okay. So this episode is so cringeworthy. It's like, oh, good grief. This must have been a Valentine's Day episode. It had to have been. No, it wasn't. It feels like a Valentine's Day episode, though. It's just, oh, good grief. No, really? Oh, God. Those are my thoughts on the thing. So, this is Cupid. And of course, by the name, John D. Lance is back. This is season 4, disc 5, episode 194, and Cupid is back. And also, a couple of last season, we had the captain go on holiday. Season 3, episode 19, where he went on vacation and met that woman and had a little bit of a tete-a-tete. So she's back. But Q's back. And it's like, oh, good grief. So, we start the episode with an overview. We have arrived at Tagus 3, where the Enterprise is to serve for the host of the Federation Archaeology Council annual symposium. And he is the Captain. Picard is the keynote speaker. And we all know, besides his Dixon Hill stuff, that he is also favors a little bit of archaeology. So we've got some of that going here too. So he's in his ready room, and Troy comes in and she says, I thought you'd like to know that the council members have beamed aboard and been assigned their quarters. Because, excellent. Troy says, Captain, it's really quite late. Picard says, tell me, Council, with regard to my lecture, what do you think would provide greater clarity? A chronological structure or the division of excavations finding into various religious, sociological, and environmental subgroupings? Huh? Yeah, you try that on YouTube. Uh-huh. I've got some questions on that, too. Troy says, I thought you already decided on a chronological structure. Picard says, there's something to be said for more scientific approach. Troy says, may I make a suggestion? Picard says, by all means, relax! It's a brilliant speech. It will need to be. Tomorrow I'm going to be addressing some of the greatest scientific minds in the Federation. And he names a bunch of people. Giants in the field of archaeology. Compared to them, I'm just an enthusiastic amateur. Frey says, I doubt they see you as an amateur. It's not when it comes to Tegas 3. Because as well it's true, I've done my homework, examined the findings of every archaeology expedition occurred on the planet. Frey says it's unfortunate that the Tegangians no longer allow outsiders to visit the ruins. Because it is indeed, especially when we know so little about their origin. But I think I have constructed some plausible theories of my own. Frey says, and I'm sure the council members will agree with you. Because your support is appreciated. Troy says, now good night, Captain. Get ready for the cringing. Alright, so Picard goes to his quarters after Troy leaves. And he turns down the light so we can't see nothing. And Vash says, does bring back any memories? Picard says, Vash, how did you get here? She says, I climbed through the window, and they get together. She is from, like they said, Captain's Holiday Season 3, Episode 19, when he went on vacation. The forced vacation by his crew because he was overworked over the Borg stuff. So they sent him on vacation, and he met this woman who was doing some archaeology stuff, and they got involved situation, and at the end of the episode, she went her way and he went his way. Now she comes back, and they get together, but wait, we gotta have some fun first. So it's the morning after, if you get my drift. And she's not part of you get the whole suspicion, did the whole thing, that she's not really part of the council. She wasn't listed. She just kind of snuck on board because she wanted to see Picard. You know that's the truth. So anyways, what's that thing they do in the olden days with the glasses? I don't know. The part, she says, I have no idea you're a member of the Archaeology Council. You are a member, aren't you? More or less. See, she doesn't confirm or deny. Why did you come to Tegas 3? Well, to see you, of course. I heard you were gonna be here, and I just had to come see y'all. Oh, good grief. Is that the only reason? Isn't it enough? I wish I could believe you. I really have missed you, John-Luke. Oh, good grief. But you gotta see this. I love this. First, the expression on his face when the doorbell rings. Oh my god, someone's gonna see me with her. Oh my god, someone's gonna see me with her. They're gonna know my secret. Sorry. Okay, first of all, why is Beverly out of uniform? If she's going to have breakfast or tea with the captain. And the expression on her face, she's like, oh, you have company. Ooh, ooh, good grief. So, the first thing any woman wants to do is want the dish, wants the details. wants the scoop on the what's up. And Beverly's like, I didn't realize you had company. That's all right. Allow me to introduce you. This is Beverly, Dr. Beverly, Dr. Beverly. I was gonna go, oh, good God. Crusher, this is Vash. She's a friend of mine from the archaeology department. Crusher says, I didn't mean to interrupt her. The captain and I often share morning tea together. Yes, I know. John Lucas told me all about you. Really? When was that? Oh, on Risa, where we met. I see, says Dr. Crusher. That must have been during your vacation last year. No, yes. Well, I'm surprised he never mentioned you. So am I, Doctor. Are you busy? Crusher's like, not at the moment. Vash is like, I'm wondering, I would love to see some more of this marvelous ship. Crusher'd be like, I'd be delighted to show you. Picard's like, Crusher's like, that's it. It's all right with you, John Luke. Well, of course. Vash says, don't worry, I promise to behave. Oh, good God. What? If you know me and you've seen my videos before, when I want you to fill in this, whatever you want, pick your own word. It's just fill in the blank. Whatever you want to put in the space. Put your own word. Like, good grief. So Dr. Crusher is showing her around the ship, and she says, and this is 10 Forward, where the council's welcoming reception will be held today. Vash says, well, I can't think of a better location. Tell me, does John Luke come here often? Crusher says, not often. The captain is a very private man. Would you like something to drink? Please. She goes off. Now, Mr. Playboy. And we know the writers cannot resist to make him Mr. Playboy when we all know he should be with Troy. But no, the writers got to have their little bit of fun. Oh, look at him, eyeing her over, giving the head to toe. Such a male. They're trying to make him into a playboy. You know, playboy. Oh, good grief. So then we have our pick up line, pick up, support, pick up line. Eternity never looked so lovely. Oh, good grief. I'm sitting there going, really? God, no. Jesus, no. She's like, excuse me? He's like, oh, I was referring to the view. Eternity never looked so lovely. My first thought here was, oh, good God. Oh, God. You must be Commander Riker. Riker says, I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage. Vash says, I didn't mean to interrupt. I believe you were about to tell me that my eyes are mysterious as the stars. Riker says, you're a Betazoid? She says, not at all. It's just that John Luke does a very good imitation of you. He does? Ah, good grief. So, Crusher comes over and says, I see you two have met. Not exactly. Crusher says, this is Vash. She's a member of the Archaeology Council and a friend of the captain. Riker says, so I've gathered. Crusher says they met during his visit to Risa. Oh, Risa, where he had that fertility statue that he carried around with him. Oh, good grief. I'm sorry. This whole episode just makes me cringe. That vacation must have been better than he let on. Vash says, you mean he never mentioned me to you either? Dr. Crusher gets paged to sickbay. Crusher says, I won't be able to finish our tour. Perhaps Commander Riker could take over to me. And Riker's like, my pleasure. Ooh, now it's my turn to be the woman and get the scoopy scoop. Oh, good grief. Oh, God. I spent the whole episode like this. This is supposed to be sci-fi, not relationship angst. So Riker takes her to the bridge and introduces her to everybody. And Worf is like, I had not been informed that council members have been granted bridge clearance. Riker's, well, I think we can make an exception in this case. This is Vash. She's a guest of the captain. Worf says, welcome aboard. And then she walks over to the chair. So she's like, oh, this is where John Luke sits. And she's got to go try it out. And it's just, you just watch the looks on their face. Did you see the looks on their faces? Did you see the looks on their faces? They're like, smiling into it. And then the captain shows up. And, well, I can see where being a starship captain has its rewards. Picard says, well, I'm that glad you approve. Vosh says, I suppose I'll go back to my room now and get ready for the reception. Picard, by all means, well, I suppose I'll see you then. Vash looks forward to it. Riker says, fascinating woman. And then... So then we're back in 10-4, and Vash is talking to Troy. And Vash says, I don't understand. I thought being the ship's counselor meant the captain confided in you. Troy says he does when he thinks it's necessary. Vash says, and he never spoke to you about me? Not that I recall. Not even a hint? Troy says, you must understand the captain is a very private man. Vash says, I know. Excuse me. Troy says, of course. Worf notices her and says she has nice legs for a human. And she just... So then she's having a conversation with one of the delegates or councils or whatever. And she interrupts and she's like, John Luke, we have got to talk now. So now we have our first fight. Now, when this ended in season 3 of episode 19, like a year ago, she went her way, he went his way. There was no agreement of any kind. It was like, see you in the next galaxy, whatever situation. But she's pissed. She's absolutely pissed that he didn't tell anybody about him. She's pissed. She's doing the girlfriend card. It's not like they're dating. It's not like they're engaged or going to be married or any of that stuff. It's she's playing the girlfriend card. They spent, 3 days together? She says, the reception seems to be going well. Vash says, forget the reception for a moment. Why have you never mentioned me to your friends? What would you have me tell them? Maybe that we met for one thing, that we had an adventure together, some fun. It wouldn't be possible. Why not? Picard says it would be inappropriate. I wasn't expecting you to go into intimate details. He says a captain does not reveal his personal feelings with the crew. Is that a Starfleet regulation, or did you just make that up yourself? Picard, I'm sorry if you're upset, and I'm sorry if my being here embarrasses you. She's playing the girlfriend card. He's so uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable. She's just, oh, good God. Things are only going to get worse. So then he goes into his ready room, and Q's there. Jean-Luc, it's wonderful to see you again. How about a big hug? Well, just don't stand there, say something. He's like, get out of my chair, and then he switches places. Picard says, we're not friends. You wound me, mon capitan. And he switches places. Q says, perhaps now your manners will show some improvement. Picard says, what brings you here, Q? Have you been banished by the Continuum again? Oh, hardly. They're still apologizing to me for the last time. Picard says, then what is it you want? Do I always have to have a reason to stop by? I was merely stating in this sector. I have a confession from me. The truth is I have a debt to repay. Switch. There we go. I was uncomfortable the other way. A debt to you, and it gnaws at me, and it interferes with each of my days. Picard says, I have no idea what you're talking about. Q says, your assistance at our last encounter. Bing, 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 bing. She always interferes. Without your assistance at our last encounter, I never would have survived. I would have taken my own life but for you. Picard says, we all make mistakes. Q says, your good deed made possible by reinstatement in the Continuum, and I'm resenting owing you anything, so I'm here to pay up. Tell me what it is you wish, and I'll be gone. Just be gone, that'll do nicely. Oh, no. It has to be something more constructive. That's my new word for the day. Picard says, some other time, Q. Right now I have other matters to attend to. Ah, yes, your speech. I read it. It's dull, plodding, pandemic, much like yourself. I could help you with it. Picard says, like, no, thank you. Q says, you've never actually been to the ruins of Tagus 3, have you? Picard says, no, they were sealed off more than a century ago. Q says, well, that explains it then. How can you write about something that you've never seen? I know, why don't I take you there? And he changes into a safari outfit. And Picard says, out of the question, that would be breaking the Tangarian law. Q says, you must always be so ethical. I suppose we could travel back in time. You could see what Taggers was like 2 billion years ago. They really knew how to party back in those days. Picard says, my answer is still no. My lecture will have to stand on its own. Now will you please leave? And he leaves, and he calls, wait a second. So, Q leaves. And without tapping his thing, without saying a signal word of any kind, without saying a signal word of, hey, computer, do this, he just talks to the air. And even with pain in the butt, and that's what we call her, she's a pain in the butt, ALEXA, and you go, hey, ALEXA, do this, or say this, or remind this. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He just talks to the air. And I'm like, really? The whole every word you're saying in confidential is recorded somewhere. How does the computer know that he wants to speak to somebody? How does the computer know? He just goes, hey Riker, come here. How does you know? It's the little things. This is supposed to be sci-fi. Tap your button, hit the intercom. He just talks to the air and goes, Riker, come here. And Riker comes here, and he goes, Q was here. And he's like, oh, good grief. What does he want? I don't know. Oh, God. Dad, he's like a teenager. He's like a teenager. You've got to see this. Now, he's a teenager. I'm telling you. He doesn't want people to know. He passes a crewman The crewman greets him. He greets the crewman. The crewman walks by. He waits until the crewman turns the corner before knocking on Vash's door. He's embarrassed? I mean, isn't that what he actually doesn't want to be seen going into her quarters. He's embarrassed. And then he's like, "It's me." And she's like, "Who?" And he's like, "John Luke." Like, what are we, teenagers? Who wrote this stuff? Yeah, he feels awkward. It's awkward as hell. And then he starts trying to apologize. And it's too late. He's like, "I am by no means embarrassed by your presence here. On the contrary." And then he sees the pad with the map and stuff and realizes she does have ulterior motives of being there besides seeing him. Him is a side benefit. She wants to see the ruins and stuff. And she's got this thing going. But, and then he goes, inspects her room, and he finds she's got equipment with her to go investigating and stuff like that. And it's the whole conversation is just like cringeworthy. It's just like, ugh, really? We know she's there for the other stuff. That's what she does. She gets that stuff and then she sells it. That's what she does. This romantic thing is a side benefit, I guess. And then Q finds out about the side benefit. So Picard goes to his room and goes to bed, and then Q comes. He's discovered Vash. He's seen her. And Picard says, "I'm in no mood for your foolishness, Q." Q says, "I knew there was something different about you. You seem tense, preoccupied, somewhat smaller. At first I thought it was that horrible lecture of yours, but I was mistaken." Picard said, "Whatever games you want to play, you'll have to wait until tomorrow." Q said, "I had such high hopes for you, Picard. I thought you were a bit more involved than the rest of your species. Now I realize you're just as weak as all the others. Still, it pains me to see the great John Luke brought down by a woman." "What woman?" Q's like, "Don't play coy with me, Captain. I witnessed your little spat with Vash. Nor I will soon forget the look of anguish on your face, the pain, the misery. If I didn't know better, I would have thought you were already married." Picard says, "You must be bored. Q, your imagination is running away with you." Q says, "This human emotion, love, is a dangerous thing, Picard, and obviously you're ill-equipped to handle it. She's found a vulnerability in you, a vulnerability I've been looking for years. If I had known sooner, I would have appeared as a female. Mark my words, Picard, this is your Achilles heel." Picard says, "Believe what you wish." And it just goes on, and I'm just over it. I am just way over it right by now. Actually, I'm over the whole thing. Okay, so we're in this really big, huge meeting room. And Picard comes in and gets up to the podium. And he, "Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Archaeology Council, welcome. Mystery. It's a mystery of Tegus 3 that brings us here together. It is a mystery that has invited more argument, more deduction, more speculation than the best works of fiction." How about Atlantis? How about the underworld Atlantis? We're going to do Sherilyn Kenyon's Acheron. What he does to that woman in his book, oh good grief. Although what's done to Acheron in that book is horrible too. We might just skip that part. But anyways, then get a look at Dr. Crusher, and a hat appears on her head, and then a hat appears on Troy's head, and then Data gets monk clothing, and Picard's still talking until he's turned into Robin Hood, and then they disappear. So, they're in Sherwood Forest. Troy says, "Is this Taggers 3? Picard says, "I doubt there are many oak trees in Taggers." No, I think this is supposed to be Earth, somewhere around the 12th century, and this is England, or more precise, Sherwood Forest, or at least Q's recreation of it. Recreation. But Riker says that would explain these costumes. Quite right, number one. I should say John Little. Crusher says, well, if he's John Little, that makes you, I know, Robin Hood. And Worf protests. He goes, I am not a merry man. And my question to you is, how does a Klingon know about Robin Hood? Has he read Robin Hood? I don't get it. And Data says, on the contrary, Lieutenant Worf, your clothing identifies you with the character of Will Scarlet, just as Geordi's mandolin identifies as Alan A. Dale. And you, Mr. Data, bear a striking resemblance to Friar Tuck. Worf says, I will now play for Q's amusement. And Sir Guy comes in, this other actor, and he draws a sword and he gets into a fight with Worf, and I'm wondering how this guy wins over Worf. It just doesn't make sense that Worf loses a fight. So then, a little thing ensues and they leave. And then later on, Crusher is tending to Worf's wound. A horse approaches, pops out of thin air. It's Q. And he wants Picard to fulfill his little fantasy of saving and rescuing Maid Marian, the woman. And Picard figures out that the woman is Vash. Picard says, it's about time you showed up. Q says, I would prefer it if you addressed me as His Honor, the High Sheriff of Nottingham. Picard said, we will no longer share in this pointless fantasy of yours. Fine, stay here and do nothing. By midday tomorrow, your crew will be safely aboard the ship, of course. You will have to accept the consequences of your inaction. Picard says, consequences. Q's like, what is the one thing that Robin Hood is most famous for? LaForge says he robs from the rich and gives to the poor. Q says, besides that. Data says, perhaps you're referring to the rescue of Maid Marian from Nottingham Castle. Yes, Data, and it just so happens that Sir Guy of Gisborne has decreed that Marian's head shall come off tomorrow. Picard says, Vash, it's your choice, Robin. You can either take your ease in this sliven glade or risk your life to save the woman you care nothing about. Picard says, my feelings towards Vash are irrelevant. I would attempt to save any innocent life as well as you well know. Q says, well, yes, you're merry men. Are you willing to jeopardize their lives as well? Is Vash's life worth more than Data's or Troy's or Worf's? You know Worf would make a perfect throw rug in Nottingham Castle. Picard says, Q, I ask that you put an end to this before someone gets hurt. Q says, oh, that's impossible, you see. I've given this fantasy, as you call it, a life of its own. I have no more idea what's going to happen than you do. But one thing I am absolutely sure of, if you dare come to Nottingham's Castle, blood will be spilled. Oh, I skipped Rosina too. So first she was doing with the nurse, and she figures out her conversation with the nurse that she's Marian and that she's in the Robin Hood fantasy. And I want to know how someone from another planet knows about Robin Hood. She's never been to Earth that we know of. She travels to all these different planets. Why would she have time to look up an historical literature, fantasy book that does not have anything to do with archaeology? Why, when she's into this career thingy, why would she even know about Robin Hood? How would she know about Robin Hood? I'm just sure. So she figures it out, and then Sir Guy comes in, and he says he's going to give her one last chance to change her mind. Will you marry me? She slaps his face, and then he says, well, I see. Then the execution will proceed as scheduled. What execution? Sir Guy, I warn you, Marion, this pathetic attempt at feigning madness will not save your life. You mean I'm the one being executed? And then she's like, oh, no, Sir Guy, I think I've been too hasty. Come sit with me. And then she kisses up to his butt. And then we're back in the forest again. And Geordi is very, very unsuccessfully trying to play the mandolin. and it's horrible. And Worf is like, screw it, and he takes it and he destroys the mandolin. And he's like, sorry. And Troy is trying to do the bow and arrow, and she shoots Data. And he's like, the arrow impacted just above my 6 intercostal support, penetrating my secondary subprocessor. Fortunately, none of my biofunctions seem to be affected. Like, what? Riker says, we've got to get out of here, Captain, because it's not we, number one. I want you and the others to stay here until I return. Riker says, you're not going to save her yourself, sir. Picard says, this is not a mission, it's personal. It's between Q and myself. I don't want the rest of you involved. Riker's like, Captain. And he's like, you have your orders, Commander. I expect you to follow them. So then, I hate when scenes are so dark you can't see. And it looks better to me looking this way than looking that way. But it's so dark. I really could when I first played this, I couldn't see anything here. I couldn't see what was going on. I didn't even see John DeLance, but now I can see him a little bit better because the light in this room has changed or whatever. But it was so dark. I hate when shows do that. They make a scene dark to seem mysterious or to give it a looming of doom effect. But then you can't see anything. So what's the point? If an actor has a dramatic scene and they're in the dark, what's the point? So Q says that needs to be sharper. Guy leads Vash out. She carries a bouquet of flowers. Q says, such benevolence, Sir Guy, allowing the condemned prisoner fresh air. Sir Guy says, you're mistaken, Sheriff. Maid Marian has promised to be my wife. What? That's impossible. Vash says, not at all. Though I admit a maiden seldom has the opportunity to win herself such a nobleman. Sir Guy says, a toast to the most beautiful bride to be in the whole of England. Q's like, don't drink it. It could be poison. Sir Guy says, have you taken leave of your senses? A foul shame of Robin Hood. She's in league with him. I'll warrant. Vash says, Robin Hood. Oh, Robin Hood. Oh, well, that was over long ago. All of Nottingham knows you're in love with him. Vash says, that's a lie. He bewitched me. He put me under some evil spell. So Guy says, I suspected as much. You can add sorcery to the list of charges against that rogue. Sir Guy says, if anyone's been bewitched here, it's you. Sir Guy, silence. More impudence and your head will be on the block. Guard, escort Lady Marian to a chamber. Vash says, I'd rather have stayed with you. Sir Guy says, of course you would, child, but I have important business to attend to. Sir Guy says, lovely creature. Q says, intriguing. It just, oh, good grief. Now, I can't see it, but supposedly Picard's back there and he listened to the whole conversation, but it's too dark, I can't see. So then he goes to rescue her. He successfully gets in the room, and if she had left when he requests, immediately he might have been successful in saving her. But I guess plotline purposes, she argues the point with him. It's like, good grief, woman. He's trying to rescue you, save your life, and you're going to stand there and argue him. And you're going to argue long enough for the bad guys to show up. You got rocks in your head or what? So she figures out that he's Robin Hood and he's come to save her, and they argue, and then Sir Guy shows up, and he's Vash takes the sword and puts it to Picard. What is wrong with you, woman? He came to save your life, and you argued because you thought you'd have a better deal from Sir Guy. Oh, look who I found. Come here. 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 Look who I found. Look who came to visit. Ah. So, it's just, I got no words. So they're gonna behead Robin Hood. Q's there watching. Like, you think Q's gonna actually let the whole thing go through? He's gonna let somebody murder Picard, but he's not in shackles. He's not in irons. He could run away easily, and he's not doing it. He's just willingly doing this. Willingly puts his head on the guillotine. Are we supposed to buy all this? I mean, really, are we supposed to buy all that he willingly? What prisoner would willingly stand there if they weren't in irons or shackles or anything like that? They would just stand there and do it. They wouldn't run away or attempt to run away. Hell, if you get killed fighting, it's better than get killed willingly, right? And so they have this little fight. Um, he saves her. The the crew from the Enterprise make a data takes thing out of his arm, throws it in the fire. There's an explosion. They get swords. They have a sword fight. Picard kills Sir Guy, and never seen Picard kill anybody outright before, but it is a fake fantasy, one that Q made up, so I guess it's okay. Then I skipped a whole bunch of scenes. I'm sorry. I'm totally missed off here. But afterwards, Jesus. I really skipped several pages of stuff here. Sorry. So there, where did I go wrong? I really lost. I really screwed up, didn't I? Oh well. So they get in disturbance. They have a fight. He kills Sir Guy, and then they go back to her chamber. I don't know why they're in her chamber. They have a moment. They have a party moment. I don't know why they went back in the castle to have their party moment. They could have left, run away, went elsewhere, but no, they had to go into the castle to have their private moment. I think you would run away from the castle after the fighting is done. Q shows up, has a tete-a-tete, and then it's determined that they all go back to the Enterprise, and then it turns out one of the scenes I skipped was Vash and Q having a discussion. So like I said, when Q introduced herself back at Nottingham, and that was the scene I accidentally skipped, and I apologize for that. You guys can always just watch it. They had a little tete-a-tete. Vash got to know Q, realized he would be able to do things for her that no other man could do for her. So they go back. He's in his ready room. All the council members have left. He's about to kiss Vash, and Q peers in, and Q says, "My compliments, Picard. I doubt Robin Hood could have done much better. Because as if you have heard any of my people, sadly, they're all fine, but my point is they could have been killed, so might have you. For all the love I've made, my debt to you, Picard, is paid. If you had learned how weak and vulnerable you really are, if you finally see how love has brought you out the worst in you. Vash is nonsense. You're absolutely wrong. I brought out the best in him. He's nobly courage, self-sacrifice, tenderness." Q says, "Oh, you're good. You're really good. Picard, enough of this. Indeed." They get back to the ship. He's in the ready room. Vash suddenly appears in a helmet, safari clothes. Vash says, "Hello, Picard." Picard says, "Well, this is the reason I thought perhaps Q had found. Well, he had some things to discuss with me." Picard says, "Indeed, surprised he's not busy gloating over his victory." Vash says, "He was right about one thing, you know. As ridiculous as it is, his game did prove that you still care. I may not show my feelings to my crew, but I do have them. Vash, I'm going to miss you, John. Picard says, so where are you off to now? Vash says, I haven't made up my mind. And Q appears. And he's in the same outfit. And Picard says, well, this is reason I thought Q had found you. Wait a minute, didn't after all the entire I'm going to miss you, John. So where are you off to now? I haven't made up my mind. After all, she has the entire universe to choose from, Cruz says. Vash says, meet my new partner. Picard says, him? Vash says, why not? I'll tell you why not. Now, John, let's not be unkind. He's devious, immoral, unreliable, irresponsible, and definitely not to be trusted. Vash says, remind you of someone you know. Picard says, as a matter of fact, it does. We're going to have fun. I'm going to take her places no human has ever seen. Who can resist an offer like that? Picard says, the payment in full for your debt to me, you'll guarantee her safety. Picard says, she will not be harmed, John. I promise you that. Well, after all, are you going to kiss her goodbye? And Q vanishes. And then he tries to lean in, and Q appears again. And he's like, I forgot my hat. And then they say goodbye. And that's the end of the episode. And that's the end of all the cringing I'm going to do this. It was just like, oh, good God. And I'm sorry I skipped that scene, but it's still, oh, good God. So we have finished Cupid. We have done Night Terrors. We have done Identity Crisis. We have done the Ninth Degree, and we have done Cupid. We are finished with Disc 5 of Season 4. So I hope you will stay with me next week for the drummed, the following week Half-Life, then the host, then the Eyes Mind as we finish off season 4. I think that's it, right? This is my old box. Yep, that's the last disc in season 4. We're finishing up Drummed, Half-Life, the host, the Eyes Mind. I hope you will continue to visit me every Friday for Star Trek Next Generation. Thank you.